As I said before, this is not an isolated incident, not with ICE, not with law enforcement, not with violence, even broadly in the United States. Over the past decade, and especially since the pandemic, Americans have been living through a steady rise of very visible, very public violence. Some of it is political, some of it's criminal, and some of it's just deeply personal, but all of it is tragic. But the common thread is that it's become so normalized. And that is where the danger lies. There are school shootings that barely make international news, barely make national news anymore. Mass shootings that are mourned and then replaced in news cycles within days, if not hours. Police shootings that spark outrage and then complete exhaustion because we know it's just going to happen again the next day. And when something becomes routine like that, that's when societies stop asking whether it should be happening at all. They stop questioning it because you start to get used to it. And nowhere in the world is that normalization clearer than how America talks about mass shootings and gun violence within its borders, excuse me. You've probably heard the phrase, there's a mass shooting every day in America. Now, I think that is true, but it definitely needs context. It depends on how a mass shooting is defined. In the United States, many databases count any incident where 4 or more people are shot. They don't have to necessarily be killed or die. They just have to be shot. If you use that broader definition, the number of mass shooting incidents does indeed average many more than one per day in recent years. That doesn't mean there's a large-scale terror attack every 24 hours, but it does mean that gun violence involving multiple victims is happening at alarmingly rates. And the volume matters. That is something that shouldn't be normalized. Because even when incidents are smaller, the cumulative effect is a population living with a constant background trauma. And you don't understand the effects of that kind of trauma unless you live under that kind of duress. Schools running active shooter drills, having armed police on the premises, public events ringed with armed police as well, and a quiet sense that violence could erupt anywhere. Now, I know here in the UK, you obviously have to go through security surveillance when you're going to an event. But I'm talking about you have your security, you have your local event security, plus armed police everywhere, plus police waiting on like the highways and stuff as you're going home. If you're watching this from anywhere but America, you can imagine that you think that reality is almost unreal. It almost feels like a movie. But I can assure you, as someone who lived there for a very long time and raised a child there for half of her life, well, most of her life so far, it is extremely real and it is extremely traumatic.